This is lesson 6, multi-step squared and cubed equations with real-world applications. Today we are going to be solving multi-step equations involving variables that are squared or cubed. So the first one is the nice easy one that we are used to working with. And the first thing that we need to do here is to change this 8 to 1 over 8. So I'm going to say x cubed equals 1 over 8. Then I'm going to take the cube root of both sides. So then we get our answer, excuse me, of x equals 1/2. Now to check our answer, remember I'm going to have x cubed equals 8 to the negative 1. And remember, we're trying to get 8 to the negative 1, not the other way around. So when I replace, I have 1/2 to the third power equals 8 to the negative 1. So then I have 1/8 equals 8 to the negative 1. So therefore, then I have 8 to the negative 1 equals 8 to the negative 1. Our next example is going to be a little bit more difficult here, because here we have the distributive property and we've got to use our rules of exponents. So here I'm going to have 8x times x and then x times negative 1. So I have x squared minus x equals 121 minus x. Well, here what I'm going to do is I am going to get rid of the x's. So I'm going to add x to both sides. When I do that, these x's go away, because if I have a negative x and I add them, they are opposite, so they disappear. So therefore, I have x squared equals 121. Now I have something that I'm used to looking at. So here I can take the square root of both sides. So now I have x equals 11. So now remember though, when I go to check it, I have to go back to the original equation. So I have x times x minus 1 equals 121 minus x. I replace, so I have 11 times 11 minus 1 equals 121 minus 11. So 11 minus 1 is 10. So 11 times 10 equals 121 minus 10. Well, 121 minus 10 is 110. 11 times 10 is 110 equals 110. And it checks. So our next example here, we have x cubed plus 9x equals 1/2 18x plus 54. So here I have to distribute the 1/2. So 1/2 times 18x and the 1/2 times positive 54. So I have x cubed plus 9x. 18x times 1/2 is 9x, plus half of 54, is 27. So I am going to subtract 9x from both sides. And if I have 9x and I take away 9x, they're both gone. So I'm left with x cubed equals 27. So I'm going to take the cube root of both sides. And I'm left with x equals 3. So now when I go to check this, and I'm just going to put a little line down here so I can check it right next to it. I have x cubed plus 9x equals 1/2 times 18x plus 54 in parentheses. So now what I have is 3 cubed plus 9 times 3. Sorry, let me put that equals 1/2 18 times 3 plus 54 in parentheses. So 3 cubed, is 27, I can't talk today, plus 27 equals, well, 18 times 3, we have 18 multiplied by 3 is 54, so 1/2 54 plus 54. So 27 plus 27 is 54 equals 1/2. And I think you're going to see where we're going here. So 54 plus 54 is 108. And half of 108 is 54. And it checks. Excuse me. So our next question, I'm going to move this over so we've got a little bit of room to solve and check it. We have negative 3x squared plus 14 equals negative 61. So I'm going to subtract 14 from both sides. So I get negative 3x squared equals negative 75. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to divide both sides by negative 3. So I get x squared equals 25. And from here, I can take the square root of both sides. Therefore, x equals 5. So now, when I go to check this, and here's where you really are going to need to be careful. So I've got negative 3x squared plus 14 equals negative 61. I have negative 3 times 5 squared plus 14 equals negative 61. Now notice what I did here. That x is the one that's squared. The negative 3 is not, because remember, here's the difference. This is different than this. Okay? The top one means this. The bottom one means this. Okay, so make sure that you know what that difference is. Okay, so now I have 5 squared is 25. So remember your order of operations. So we've got negative 3 times 25 plus 14 equals negative 61. And then negative 3 times 25 is negative 75 plus 14 equals negative 61. And then negative 75 plus 14 is negative 61, which equals negative 61. And that checks. Okay. All right, next we have, ooh, look at this, nice pretty colors. All right, so it says, now let's apply the skill to real-world situations. A fully inflated beach ball contains 288 pi cubic inches of air. What is the radius of the beach ball? Well, here's what we need to do. we have our formula, which is volume equals 4/3 pi r squared. So we need to replace our volume with 288 pi, and that's going to equal 4/3 pi r squared. Well, what I can do, the first thing I'm going to do is divide both sides by pi and get rid of that. So that's gone. So I have 288 equals 4/3 r squared, or sorry, r cubed. Let me fix that. The next thing I'm going to do is, because this is a fraction, remember, multiply through by its reciprocal. So when I do that, and I put that in my calculator, 3/4 multiplied by 288, I get 216 equals r cubed. Then I'm going to take the cubed root of both sides. And r is going to equal 6 inches. So my radius is 6 inches. My next problem, it says Robin bought a crystal globe that has a volume of 1,774 2/3 pi cubic centimeters. Find the radius of the crystal globe. So again, we're going to replace that. So we've got 1,774 2/3 pi, and that equals 4/3 pi r cubed. So we're going to divide both sides by pi. So that's the first thing that we're going to do. So now I have 1,774 2/3 equals 4/3 r cubed. The next thing I'm going to do is divide both, or multiply both sides by 3/4. So in my calculator, I'm going to multiply that by 3/4, and I am going to get 1331, and that's going to equal r cubed. So I'm going to take the cube root of both sides. So r is going to equal 11 centimeters. So my radius is 11 centimeters. And that ends our lesson for today.